As we reported the other day, Canada has passed a tough new law banning foreigners from purchasing homes for the next 2 years. So with housing prices, meaning that home ownership is almost impossible for the next generation, should Australia actually think about doing the same? Now, joining me now is Ray Ellis. He's the CEO of First National Real Estate Group, and welcome to you, Ray. Should we be copying what Canada has done? Does it work for us?
Well, we applaud any government initiative that helps Australians get into their first home. That's a priority, as you just said. But the facts are it doesn't actually achieve those results. New Zealand have tried it. Canada have about 6% of their market for people buying from overseas. But the main difference there is their market is where people buy homes, flip them, turn them over quickly to make a quick profit. The evidence supports here in Australia that any foreign investment is long-term buyers for students to move here for security of tenure, or they want to live in Australia. So the market is about 6% of foreign investments. That's just under 4% of established homes and 2% of units. So it's a small percentage of the market. But we applaud any initiative that helps get Australians into their castle.
Yeah, look, I think it's a surprisingly xenophobic policy from very woke Canada, but the reality of foreign investment here in Australia, as you say, is completely different. We want people to own homes, young, old, new to the country or whatever. So can you run through some of those numbers about what the situation's really like here in Australia?
Well, there's about $8 billion of property sold to foreign investors. That's down on what it was before the pandemic. But when you consider an $8 trillion industry, it is a very small percentage. And as I said, only under 4% for established homes, 2% for units. So it's not a big portion of the market. And the majority of the foreign investors, we have a situation out in Sydney and Homebush and Rhodes there, where there's a big Malaysian community which are investing in property for students who move here, end up working here, family reunification. So it's more than just the property values. It's actually the culture and the vibrancy that makes the Australian home ownership is the issue for us.
Yeah, and I see that around the part of Brisbane I live in, where there's a very large Chinese, Taiwanese, Singaporean, Hong Kongese. They all come in and buy the house, so they know the kids are able to, living under the right sort of roof. So that it's a place that they're buying into. Look, young people blame everybody about why they can't get homes, easily. I mean, it's always been hard, Ray. It's always been hard. You had to give something up to buy that first home. But why is it so difficult right now for young Australians? Don't they want to put that effort in, give stuff up to get the home?
Well, we could debate for hours about the change in society of what's seen as a long-term investment or security. And what we're seeing is the younger generation, as we all were once, are making a lifestyle decision that perhaps holidays more frequently, perhaps a lifestyle living close to the city is more important to them for their lifestyle. And that's fine, that's great. But what we're also seeing is a return to getting into the property market where they may continue to rent a property in Richmond, Surrey Hills or Red Hill in Brisbane, Leederville in Perth, and they invest in a property in a country area because they're getting strong returns there, or they're investing in a property that's not necessarily where they want to live. And that's how younger people are moving into the market now, which is more affordable in the regional areas, more affordable away from the city. So they're making those investment choices, not based on their first home as where they want to live. They're seeing their first property as an investment and they're renting where they want to live.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly what I did at age 21. I don't need a badge, but I sold the car to fund the deposit for a house, and I held it for a couple of years and then, as they say now, flip it. But, boomers, I'm a late boomer, but we all get blamed. We all get blamed. Give up your home, you boomer. You've got to get out of the way so that we can have that home. I just think that kids have got to, or younger people have just got to look at all those tougher alternatives. Buy that sort of bad house or good house in a bad street, whatever it is, to get a start in the market.
Investment, whether it's in property or some other form, requires a discipline. And that discipline comes at a later age now than perhaps in your or my generation, but it's certainly returning. It's just in a different format now.
Okay, so you say living in the regions might be the answer, investing in the regions. Some of those regions are awfully expensive too as people look for tree and sea changes.
Yes, but they're getting good rental returns in it. So the cost of their mortgage repayments are offset by the rentals. Rentals have increased dramatically in the regions. That's causing a problem in regional Australia. But for investment people in the capital cities, there's still plenty of opportunities to have the Australian dream in your castle throughout Australia. It's the discipline and the demand to want to achieve that result. And as I said, a younger generation making more lifestyle choices now than a discipline of a house, a mortgage and children by the time you're 23. They're just changing times. They're catching up to the boomer generation, as we said. But the desire for the Australian dream and the Australian castle is certainly there.
So house prices falling, and would they fall further if foreign investment disappeared out of the market? Because that few percent keeps a little boil underneath a few of some people's homes' values, I would have thought.
Just over 80% of Australians have the opinion that foreign investors are causing house prices to increase. There's no evidence to back that up, as you said earlier. House prices the rate of fall has exacerbated since October, November last year. There's still been about a 10% fall in Sydney over the past 12 months, but that's still up 11% growth since the pandemic started 2.5 years ago. So we're certainly seeing a strong demand for property even over the summer months, even though we all escaped to the beach over that period of time. But the rate of property prices decline has closed dramatically since October, November. We expect that to peter out by March and April this year, but still show a 6 or 7% return since the pandemic began in most capital cities. In Adelaide and Darwin, it's up by 30%, 11%. Hobart, it's still up. Perth is up by 5%. So we can come be preoccupied about the eastern seaboard sometimes, where the biggest increases are in Sydney and Melbourne, but throughout the rest of the country, there's still returns there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in Brisbane got their eye on that 2032 Olympics being a promising reason why people want to buy in southeast Queensland. Ray, terrific. Thanks so much for your time. Ray Ellis, CEO of First National Real Estate Group.